Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Reading Corner. It's so good to have you here. I don't know about what it is like where you guys are, but here in Melbourne, we've been in our lockdown for a very long time and it has just finished. And so we're able to go back out to do shopping and see people and get out of the house and do things. Shopping can be a lot of fun. Sometimes it's just for groceries, or it might just be for school uniforms or books. Sometimes it's really fun kind of shopping when you have to buy a special present for someone, maybe something special for yourself. Or maybe you go to a special kind of shop to order something custom made for someone. I've got 3 stories about 3 different lots of people who go shopping. Our first book is about a little girl in India who wants to buy a present for her Amma, who is her mother, and she goes to the market to find something. Then our next book is about little Miss Splendid and how she goes shopping for a new hat. And then we find out what happens after that. And finally, we have a book called Jim and the Beanstalk, which is about Jim, who meets a giant and has to help him to buy some very special things. But we'll get to that book after the others. First up, let's find out what happens at the market in India. This is A Gift for Amma, and I know you're going to like it. The sun grows bright. The street is busy. It's market day in town. I count my money and dash outside to find a treasure for Amma. Saffron orange strands in tiny scoops. Would Amma like to season rice? Orange marigolds swing over doors, swish, swish. Should I make her a garland? Jasmine white in starry blooms, petals to perfume Amma's braid. But white goats shove past, shoo, shoo, squirm away. Lotus pink, shimmering fresh. Would Amma like dewy buds? Pink, sweet, soaked in ghee. Yum, yum, I'll come back for my treat. Peacock green dancing in the breeze. Would she need a fan for the heat? Green herbs, mint and coriander. Sniff, sniff. I'm hungry for chutney. Vermilion red like rising flame, but Amma never dots her forehead. Red hot peppers spill over. Achoo! Achoo! I cover my face. Charcoal black fires up fast, ready to roast sweet corn and kebabs. Black drums beat and boom, hop, skip. What would Amma like? Turmeric yellow like sunshine dust, plenty of powdery spice at home. A yellow rickshaw pedals by. Ding-a-ling, I scoot to the side. Pigeon grey at every corner. Street birds pecking grains. Grey buffalo blinks and stomps. Moo, moo, I must hurry. Terracotta brown baked from clay. Cool water in delicate pots. Brown tea with milk and sugar. Tea, tea. I smell cardamom. Indigo blue waves to me, soft cotton like Amma's sari. Blue bangles sing and chime, clink, clink, like Amma's lullaby. I pick a bangle in every shade and hand over my pocket money. I skip back home and tiptoe in, jingle, jingle, a rainbow just for Amma. What a beautiful gift to share all the colours of the market with Amma. I think markets are a lot of fun. Is there a market where you are? Have you ever been to one? If you have, I know you've had fun. Now we're going to read about little Miss Splendid and what happens when she wants to buy a hat. Nothing was too good for little Miss Splendid. She lived in a huge house surrounded by large gardens. She slept in an enormous bed with silk sheets and silk pillowcases. She bathed in a gold bath and she dined off silver plates. Oh, she was splendid. At least she thought so. Little Miss Splendid thought a lot of herself. In fact, she thought about little else. One day, while taking a stroll around her gardens, little Miss Splendid came upon a small door in one of the walls. She had never noticed it before. I wonder what's through here, she thought. And opening the door, she stepped through. She found herself on a road. Along came Mr. Small, out for a short walk. Good morning, he remarked politely, raising his hat. Little Miss Splendid stuck her nose even higher in the air and walked past him as if he wasn't there. What a common little man, she thought to herself. She came to a bus stop. Mr. Happy and Mr. Daydream were waiting for a bus into town. Hello, grinned Mr. Happy. Who are you? I, she replied, am Splendid. Oh, said Mr. Happy. Are you going to catch the bus? Asked Mr. Daydream. Me, she said. A bus? Never. I, she went on, have never, ever in the whole of my life travelled on a bus. An expression of distaste crossed her face. You have to sit next to people on buses, she went on, and that would never do. Oh, said Mr. Happy, and scratched his head. He couldn't think of anything to say. Miss Splendid walked off with her nose very high in the air. Miss Splendid arrived in town. She looked at herself in all the shop windows as she walked down the street. I must say, she thought to herself, I do look absolutely splendid. And then something caught her eye. There, in the middle of the window of the hat shop, was a hat. Not just a hat and a half. The most magnificent, sumptuous, desirable, gorgeous, spectacular, amazing, splendid hat you've ever seen. Miss Splendid marched into the shop. She snapped her fingers and a saleslady hurried to her side. Good morning, madam, the saleslady said. Miss Splendid ignored her. Can I help you? I, announced Miss Splendid, wish to try on the hat in the window. Miss Splendid looked at herself in the mirror. Magnificent, she breathed. I look absolutely magnificent. I'll take it, she announced. But don't you want to know how much it costs? Asked the saleslady. Costs? Queried Miss Splendid loftily. I never discuss money matters. Send me the bill. And she marched out of the shop. Little Miss Splendid stood on the pavement and held up her hand. Taxi, she announced in a loud, important voice. A taxi stopped. Take me home, she ordered, and went to get in, but of course she couldn't. Her new hat was much too large to fit through the taxi door. Driver, she said, you should purchase yourself a larger taxi. In the meantime, she went on, I shall walk. The taxi driver grinned. Little Miss Splendid walked along. Perhaps it's better to walk, she thought to herself, so that everyone has the chance to admire my magnificent new hat. Then it happened. It started to rain. And the trouble was, the more it started to rain, the more it rained. And the trouble was, the more it rained, the more Miss Splendid got wet. And the trouble was, the wetter she got, the wetter her hat got. What a sorry sight. Don't you agree? The bus, on its return journey from town, passed her. Mr. Happy and Mr. Daydream, on their way home and sitting in the dry, looked out of the window. I say, remarked Mr. Happy, looking out at the bedraggled figure trudging along in the wet. What a splendid sight. Mr. Daydream giggled. Splendid, he agreed. Miss Splendid, looking anything but splendid, arrived home. However, after a hot bath in her gold bath and after a boiled egg in a gold egg cup eaten with a silver spoon, she felt much better. In fact, later on, she spent an extremely pleasant evening looking at, well, what do you think she spent all evening looking at? No, not television. Herself in the mirror. Sometimes it is a thing that happens is that we get caught in the rain and get all wet and bedraggled, and it's very nice afterwards to have something hot to eat and a nice hot bath. I hope it's sunny where you are, but if it's raining, I hope that you're warm and snug inside. Now we're going to read about Jim and the Beanstalk. Early one morning, Jim woke up and saw an enormous plant growing outside his window. That's funny, he said. Wasn't it yesterday? I'll see how high it goes. And he began to climb up the plant. It certainly is a big plant, he said, as he went into the clouds. When he reached the top of the plant, Jim saw a castle. I'm hungry, he said. I'll ask at the castle for breakfast. I hope they have cornflakes. Jim ran to the castle and knocked on the door. He waited and waited until the door was slowly opened by a very old giant. Aha, said the giant, a boy, a nice juicy boy. 3 fried boys on a slice of toast. That's what I used to enjoy eating in the old days. I've got no teeth now. Come in, boy, you're quite safe. The giant shared his breakfast of beef and beer with Jim. Is your name Jack? He asked. No, said Jim. It's Jim. Did you come up a beanstalk? Asked the giant. I came up some sort of plant, said Jim. It's that beanstalk again, said the giant. It came up once before. That pesky boy Jack stole some of my father's gold and took our golden harp and our golden hen. And I've never really been happy since. And now I'm old too. I can't even see to read my poetry books because the print is too small. Haven't you got any glasses? Asked Jim. Only beer glasses, said the giant. I meant reading glasses, said Jim. They go on your nose and ears. It's my eyes I'm talking about, roared the giant, banging his fist on the table. These glasses are for your eyes, said Jim, and he explained about glasses while the giant listened carefully. Get 'em, said the giant fiercely when Jim had finished. Get 'em for me. I'll pay good gold. I'll have to measure you, said Jim. So Jim measured the giant's head. The giant gave Jim a gold coin, and Jim climbed down the beanstalk as fast as he could, holding tight to the coin. He showed the coin to his mother, but before she could say anything, he got dressed and ran off to the oculist. The oculist could hardly believe his eyes when he saw the giant gold coin, but he set to work straight away. He worked all night, and in the morning, the glasses were ready. Jim carried them home. Then he tied them on his back and climbed up the beanstalk. The giant loved his glasses and began reading rhymes to Jim as soon as he put them on. You're a good boy, he said. Now I can see you properly. I wonder what you'd be like to eat. I can't eat anything much nowadays because I've got no teeth. Why don't you have false teeth? Asked Jim. False teeth, roared the giant. Never heard of them. So Jim explained about false teeth while the giant listened carefully. Get him, said the giant when Jim had finished. Get him for me. I'll pay good gold. So Jim measured the giant's mouth. Make them big, said the giant, and sharp. I like sharp teeth. The giant gave Jim another gold coin, and Jim climbed down the beanstalk as fast as he could, holding tight to the coin. He showed the coin to his mother, but before she could say anything, he ran off to the dentist. The dentist could hardly believe his eyes when he saw the giant gold coin, but he set to work straight away. He worked all night, and in the morning the teeth were ready. Jim carried them home. Then he tied them on his back and climbed up the beanstalk. The giant loved his new teeth. He jumped up and down, champing his jaws and gnashing the teeth until the sparks flew. Then the giant sat down and looked at himself in a mirror. "Ah," he said, "I used to be a good-looking lad. Great head of flaming red hair I had, and now look at me." "Why don't you have a wig?" asked Jim. "A wig?" roared the giant. "Never heard of a wig." So Jim explained about wigs while the giant listened carefully. "Get one," said the giant when Jim had finished. "Get one that's red and curly. I'll pay good gold." So Jim measured the rest of the giant's head. The giant gave Jim another gold coin, and Jim climbed down the beanstalk as fast as he could, holding tight to the coin. He showed the coin to his mother, but before she could say anything, he ran off to the wig maker. The wig maker could hardly believe his eyes when he saw the giant gold coin, but he set to work right away. He worked all night, and in the morning the wig was ready. Jim carried it home. Then he tied it on his back and climbed up the beanstalk. The giant loved his wig. "I look about 100 years younger," he said. He put on all his best clothes and danced about the room, beaming at himself in the mirror. "Marvelous, wonderful," he boomed. "I'm happy again. I feel like a new giant, and my appetite has come back too." The giant stood still and looked at Jim. "Fried boy," he said thoughtfully. Jim waited to hear no more. He ran to the beanstalk, slid down it as fast as he could, and landed below in a heap. Above him, he could hear the thunder of the giant's footsteps. Seizing an axe, Jim swung mightily and chopped down the beanstalk. At the very moment the beanstalk fell, something else landed beside Jim with a thud. It was a huge piece of paper wrapped around a giant gold coin. On the paper was written, "Dear Jim, thank you for the teeth and the glasses, also the lovely wig. Your friend, the giant." Jim ran inside and showed the giant gold coin to his mother. "At last you can keep a coin for yourself," she said. Somewhere in the distance, Jim heard the rumble of giant laughter. Goodness, what an adventure. Let me just recommend to you all that if you find a giant plant growing outside your window, perhaps don't climb up. I think that it's safer to stay down here where everyone is the right size. I hope that you've enjoyed these stories today. I love reading them to you. And I've got some great new stories because I've borrowed some books from some friends and also from the library. And I'm looking forward to sharing them all with you at Reading Corner. But until then, you take care and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.